All right, so we're recording this. This is the TORQ training and how your skills will transfer to other occupations. And again, my name is Jan Romano. I work for Mass Hire Metro North Career Centers, and we are in Woburn, Cambridge, and in Chelsea. And so good to have you this afternoon. So we're here from 3 to 4, so about an hour together, and we're going to go over TORQ. So I'm going to take my camera off right now. I'm going to be using this PowerPoint presentation, but jumping into JobQuest and showing you TORQ live. And then you'll be able to get this presentation at the end of this training. All right, so let's keep going. So maybe you don't know what TORQ stands for. I certainly didn't when I first started to look at this. It's Transferable Occupational Relationship Quotient. And quotient is the key word there. You see, what TORQ is going to do for you, so it's a software package, it's going to help you identify and match your skills that you have, which we call, as you can see underlined here, transferable skills, to related occupations and industries so that you can expand your base of jobs that you might want to start looking for. So TORQ is a software package. And if you're looking for a new career or a new job title, but you're not sure what it is and how to find it, TORQ is a great tool to use. And you're going to hear me say this many, many times today. We're going to focus on your transferability. Your transferability of what? Skills into a new either occupation or new job title. And we're going to be using your skills to figure out what jobs you might be able to jump into. So TORQ, take a look at these bulleted items here. TORQ can help you find careers and rate your transferability. Notice the word rates. You're going to see that soon. You're going to see a rating. You see, this is going to help you to decide, hey, can I just jump into this job without too much effort? Would I be a good fit? Or do I need training? Or do I need some certifications? What do I need? So TORQ is going to rate your skills, and it's going to rate the skills that are needed for the jobs that it thinks that you would be a good match for. So we're going to be looking at real-time job postings, but TORQ is going to find them for us. Now, TORQ is going to give you a score. It's going to give you a score. It's going to use a scale from 1 to 100. So 100 would be the best match, and 0 being no match at all. So eventually you're going to see a number, and you're going to see that score. And again, we'll talk about transferability, and we'll talk about the TORQ score many times today. And if you have any questions along the way, go ahead and put those questions in the chat. So where will you find TORQ? I'll show you. It's in JobQuest. And because you all needed a job seeker ID in order to take this training today, you're probably all familiar with JobQuest. It's a free online service through Massachusetts, and it's for you to create a profile in. It's for employers to be able to look into JobQuest and find a good match, maybe find you as you're got a profile created in TORQ and someone finds you in JobQuest. Sorry, you have an account in JobQuest and they'll find you in JobQuest, not necessarily in TORQ. Sorry, we'll talk about that very soon. But basically, JobQuest is, connecting job seekers to employment opportunities. So we have over the state of Massachusetts, we have many one-stop career centers, and we have this one software called JobQuest where you're able to put and create a profile about what you're interested in types of jobs you'd like to work for and what your skills are. And then JobQuest is the pathway into TORQ. Now, I get this question all the time. Who can see your info in JobQuest? Only you. And who can see your input in TORQ? Only you. But employers can also take a look in JobQuest. So when you're in JobQuest and you're filling out your profile, there's a question there that says, would you like to let an employer view this information? And if you answer yes, employers can see your profile on JobQuest and therefore say, wow, you'd be a great candidate, and maybe give you a call. So it's always a benefit to create a full JobQuest account and fill in the profile, and I'll show you that very soon as well. Now, Before you do your job search, you know these things. You typically think of job titles that you want to search for. You know what skills that are required when you look at those job titles and you look at those job descriptions. You know what skills you have. You decide whether you're a good match, whether the salary range is something that you'd be interested in. And sometimes they don't give the salary range, so it's up to you to research in Massachusetts what would be the salary range. You'll be able to research whether you need any more training or certification. And these things TORQ will help you do. So you probably have already done some of these things on your own, maybe using ONET. So ONET Online is the Occupational Information Network. That is part of the U.S. Department of Labor. And maybe you've done some research because in ONET, and I highly recommend that you take Brendan's ONET classes, and we can take a look if we have time at the end what is on the calendar. But ONET is the nation's database. It has all occupational information in it. It's the LMI, so the labor market information, and it has employment levels and occupations and the outlook of the occupation and the wages of the occupations. And it collects and organizes all this information and publicizes it on ONET. So if you have gone to ONET before, you would see over 1,100 occupations listed on ONET. And it lists the skills, knowledge, and abilities that you need in order to be good at that particular job. So how many have actually used ONET and done some research on ONET? Let me know. Okay, a couple of, oh, everyone, they love ONET, somebody says. Excellent. Many people have. That is very good. If you haven't used ONET, highly recommend that you do. Here's the website right here so that you can go to www.onetonline.org. All right, and we're having a few people put in the chat that they had some trouble getting in. They should be all set now. If you're in and you're able to chat, then you should be okay. Let me just again take a look. Someone's saying that they've switched to their phone. All right, well, on the phone, it's kind of hard to see. So if you want to log out and log back in using the computer, that might be best for you. All right, I just want you to know that there are some guidelines with TORQ. TORQ is a free service. It is a free service to all JobQuest users, so anyone who has a JobQuest account and a job seeker ID, and there's the JobQuest website. And what you do, and I'll demonstrate this, you log into JobQuest and then you access TORQ. Now your zip code will be used to confirm upon entering TORQ, and then there'll be some security, there'll be some questions that TORQ will ask, but for security reasons, you'll be logged out of JobQuest when you enter TORQ. So you need to know that you've got to get into JobQuest to find TORQ. Then once you get into TORQ, JobQuest will automatically be closed. So let's take a look at this right now. So I'm going to go to JobQuest, and I have logged in to my JobQuest account. This is what JobQuest looks like. And as I scroll down, let me just make sure that you are seeing this as well. Yes, you are. And as I scroll down, you'll see here TORQ portal login. So I will click on the TORQ portal login. Oh, it says I've logged out. Okay, so let me log into JobQuest one more time, just because it does time out. So I had it open. So let me log right back in. So I'm going to put in my job seeker ID and my password and log in. All right. So now I'm logged in and I'm going to scroll down and it says TORQ portal login. So I'll click again. And now it works. Notice It says TORQ login. Thank you for using JobQuest. You will now be directed to TORQ. When you go to TORQ for the first time, your contact information, which is name, email, JobQuest ID, and zip code, is sent to set up your TORQ account. So sent from the information you put in into JobQuest is sent name, email, JobQuest ID, and zip code sent to your TORQ account. You will be then exited from JobQuest when you continue to TORQ. So notice down here it says TORQ is a free standalone service provided via JobQuest. Anything you change in TORQ will not change in JobQuest. So JobQuest is where you go to fill out your profile. If you haven't done so, I highly recommend that you do. Then when you go into TORQ, it's a separate software. So anything you put in TORQ, it does not talk to JobQuest or change anything in JobQuest. So now I will click here to continue to TORQ. So please wait while you are redirected to TORQ, and JobQuest will be logged out automatically. So again, I'll say let's go. Click on that and get started. And this software is very easy, but the first thing that you'll see is what an explanation of TORQ is up here. So TORQ will find job openings and education programs that match your background and goals. One thing I want to keep in mind is that, remember we talked about ONET. ONET is one of those websites that TORQ references. So I want you to take a look with me. I'm going to go to ONET for just a moment. See if it will open up and I can show you. All right, I have two screens, so I'm going to move around a couple of things and show you ONET in just a moment once it opens. So the idea is we're in TORQ while you're waiting. We are in TORQ. I'll show you what to fill in, but what is TORQ referencing when we put our information in? TORQ is referencing ONET. So let me bring ONET over, and here is ONET. ONET, some of you said you used and you loved it. Some of you said you have not. So in ONET, you can actually see occupations. You can find an occupation. You can see an occupation by typing in into the search. You can use a keyword, or they have SOC codes that you could use. I'll just use a keyword, and I'll just use customer service and hit enter. Now, customer service has a bright outlook, meaning it's a good choice. It has lots of opportunities for job openings. So notice I'm going to click on customer service. So this is a class about TORQ, right? But I wanted you to see what's in ONET because this is what TORQ references. I'll say it again many times, and I want you to make sure that you understand. This is what TORQ references. TORQ references, let's say you were a customer service rep and you told TORQ that you were, TORQ would know all of these 15 tasks that typically a customer service rep does. TORQ would know, because it references ONET, these 45 technology skills that are needed possibly for a customer service rep. All of this knowledge here, so 4 lists of knowledge, some additional skills, abilities, so 11 abilities, 10 skills, and work activities, 19 work activities. So in ONET, you can really understand what a job that you might be interested in is all about. And that's what TORQ does too. TORQ looks at ONET to see the detailed activities and work and skills and knowledge and abilities that you would need to do the job. Then, when you look in TORQ, it knows that for customer service, you would need certain education, you would need credentials, interests are also listed in work styles and work values, and any other related occupations. The wages are also able to reference. So a median wage in Massachusetts in 2020 between $17 an hour, about 35,000 annually. I can also change a state. So I can look in a different state, and let's say I was going to move to California and I wanted to see what that medium wage is in California versus the whole United States versus Massachusetts and so forth, and I can take a look at that. So ONET Online has all this information that TORQ is going to be looking at. So keep that in mind. Now, when we build our TORQ profile, it's very easy. You put in your zip code. You answer, are you a veteran? And did you get an access code from a career counselor? And if you didn't, that's not a problem at all. I'm going to leave that empty and click next. The next thing you do is you add in your work experience. Now, listen carefully. This is very important. The last time I taught this, it seemed to be a tad confusing to some people. So I want to make it very clear to you, is that you decide what work experience you want to put in. Why? You're not going to think of this as a resume. You can, but we're not. You're going to think of this as, I want to tell TORQ what work experience I want to use in my job search. So if I were, for example, looking for a customer service job, and I was a sales associate at one time, I would want to put that in. It wouldn't matter if it was a long time ago. It's still relevant to TORQ to figure out if your skills are new or old. It'll determine that and decide what types of jobs you might be interested in. But let's say I was a sales clerk, but I really would like to go into accounting. And I only have one job that I was in an accounting firm doing some accounting. I would only put that one job in. But I might decide to put a few other jobs that might have some transferable skills as well. So this is not like a resume where you need to go back 10 to 15 years. This is you deciding what work experience you would like TORQ to look at based on an idea that TORQ will take this, look at ONET, and figure out what skills you have and what other jobs that you might be interested in. So let's see how easy it is to fill this out. So I'm going to go right here and click here where it says enter your job title, and I'll put customer. Now I want you to notice as I typed customer, I want you to notice down here. Was I a customer service rep? Was I a first line supervisor or office administrative support or retail person? Or show more. Was I a teller, a cashier, a sales rep? And I could keep clicking more and seeing these job titles. And where are these job titles coming from? They're coming from ONET. Now you might say, well, I was never called a customer service rep. I was called a customer service associate. That's okay. You choose one of the titles that is close to your job title that you had. So whatever job title that you had, find one by looking at these examples and choosing an example that's here. So I'm going to choose customer service representative. So I will type that up here as well. I'll put rep. And the month, notice there are stars, so they are necessary. So let's say the month was February of 2003, let's say, to let's say May 2019. So I could also say that was my current position as well, but let's say I'm putting that in and I click add. Now I can add more work experience, or I can leave just this work experience. It's not like your resume that there'd be gaps or that you'd have to worry about what someone would think if I only did this from 2003 to 19. That's so long ago. Nope, you just put in the work experience that you would like TORQ to look at. You click next. You can put in your education. So notice this down arrow here. I'm going to click the down arrow. You can put in high school. You can put in associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's, and so forth. There's lots to choose from. So I'll choose a bachelor's degree and let's say month, February of 2003. Okay? Or maybe so, 2. All right. So again, you can put as much education as you want in here. And then, or you can skip the education. So I'm going to add that in. Enter your field of study. I'll put, let's say, travel. So notice travel is not a real degree anymore, but tourism and travel service management is, and services marketing. So I'll click on services management so that TORQ can understand from ONET what that means. And then add that in by hitting the add button. And then I'll click on finish. Look what TORQ is doing. It's evaluating hundreds of jobs that might be something that you could do based on what? Based on what you put into TORQ. So previously I had put my name and my email address, and notice right here my work experience I can go back to by clicking on plan at the top, and I can add more if I decide. So sometimes people will put in too much work experience because they've had, I just had the pleasure of talking to someone today who was a teacher, did uh, customer service, did arts and theater. And again, that's great. What a wonderful career, but now wasn't sure what to do next. So again, maybe they're interested in arts and in theater, so that's what they would put in TORQ so that TORQ could focus on that. Too much information, TORQ may give you too many types of jobs that you might be interested in. But let's go back at the top here and click on careers. Now, before we go and take a look at these careers, let's go back to the PowerPoint for a moment. So we talked about ONET. We went into ONET. We talked about the guidelines. You have to have a JobQuest account, which you do. We now start using TORQ. And how do we use TORQ? We log in, and then we're automatically logged out of JobQuest. So you're going to get slides to help you walk through this when you decide to go ahead and do that. And what does TORQ need to build a profile? Any basic information, any work experience, any education, as I mentioned. And yes, TORQ will use what you give it to build a resume, but you never have to use that resume, and I don't recommend that you ever do. It's just an option in TORQ that will take this information and actually help build your resume for you. But again, that's not what we're using it for today. Now remember, only you can see your TORQ information, okay? So we put in the zip code, we answered some questions, we put in our work experience. You're going to get each slide here that helps you understand what to put, okay? Your education, and few things that you should understand before you start looking at the jobs that TORQ gives you. So let's do that, and then we're going to go look at those jobs. So KSA, knowledge, skills, and abilities. Knowledge, skills, and abilities you have. Remember, I put in customer service rep. So the knowledge, skills, and abilities that I have as a customer service rep. How does it know that? Well, it goes to TORQ, goes to ONET, and it will then, let's take a look. Can I jump back to ONET? Okay. Let's do that. So ONET looks at customer service, and as I mentioned before, sees all the skills, abilities, knowledge that ONET lists and says this is what you probably have. And so then what it does, and let's go back to TORQ. Hold on a second. Let's go back to TORQ itself, which, there we go. Having trouble getting back in for some reason. Oh, did it close out? It might have closed out on me. Sometimes that does happen. All right, so there's ONET. So let's go back to TORQ. All right, so I'm going to log back in to JobQuest. So I'm going to bring this over so that you can see it. All right, I'm just moving my windows out of the way. Either I closed it or it closed by itself, so I'm not too sure what happened there. Not happy that that happened during my training, right? All right, let's just move this over. All right, we're coming back to JobQuest, and I'm going to put in my job seeker ID again. Now remember, JobQuest was automatically closed when I went into TORQ. So I scroll down, go to TORQ, continue to TORQ. It's redirecting me from JobQuest to TORQ. All right, here we go. Okay, and I'll go to plan again at the top, and you'll see that information about customer service rep and bachelor's degree is still there. Okay, all right. Now we're going to go ahead and go look at careers. So you can search for career, and careers is by clicking this at the top. You can search for a career, or you can take a look at the careers that TORQ has for you in this whole huge list, thinking from the skills that you've had as a customer service rep that you might want to do some of these particular jobs and your skills would match. Now, very important when you look at one of these jobs, the TORQ score is in green and the exposure risk is in blue. So let's talk about those two things as well as the typical salary, your skills fit, any schools that you can find that you'd need to maybe meet some requirements if there were any, and any jobs. Now, a 97% score means, remember 100 means it's a good match for you. So 97 is very good. Why does it think you're going to be a good match? Let's take a look at your skills fit. Notice here, shows you this mean salary. Interact with customers to provide information and responses to inquiries about products and services, and to handle and resolve complaints. That's a definition. Now, what strengths would you have? You would have clerical. Did you tell TORQ you had clerical strengths? No, it looked at ONET to see what the skills and strengths are for a customer service rep. Notice the knowledge it lists here based on ONET. Reading comprehension, what does that mean? Active listening, critical thinking, these are skills that typically someone who was a customer service rep would have. Now, any gaps in your knowledge, it couldn't find any significant gaps, so that's why it gave this score of 97, because you would be able to just jump right over into this job. So let's look a little further. Let's take a look here. You're searching for jobs. You can search for careers, which are job titles, actual jobs, which I'll show you, are schools to get more education. You've got your plan. You can build a resume, but that's not what we're doing. You're doing a search. You're able to see your skills fit. You're able to see what your TORQ score is. You're able to see what your transferability is. Now, when you're looking at the results, you want to understand that, again, take a look right here. The TORQ score is measuring your transferability based on ONET, the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are listed in ONET. Now, you're also going to see an exposure risk, which we'll talk about, what that measurement means to exposing you to communicative diseases. And the skills fit will show whether you have any gaps or you are all set, have all the skills ready for that particular job. Now, let's go back to TORQ. Let's say you were interested in this particular medical records, health information technician type of job. Again, you'd look at the salary, you'd look at the score, 99, you look at the skills fit, no gaps, but look at all the skills that you could brag about. You could say, oh yes, yes, I've done that. And yes, I know this and I know that. Or you could look and see where you might feel that you needed a little bit more knowledge or skill. You can see a definition. And then you could actually click on jobs right here and find real jobs up to date. And you could save them so you could look at them later, or you could click open. Now, I want you to understand that when you click open, it will bring you to their company website. So look at the top of the screen for me. When you do this, I don't want you to be confused. TORQ is still here at the top. The job that you clicked on, notice it brings you to either Indeed or the company website. It might bring you to Career Builders or the company website. So it brings you to a job board or the company website where you can apply. So in TORQ, these are real jobs. I'll scroll down. I can save them, so I'll click Save here. I can click on Open. And again, this time it brought me to Indeed as well. And the tabs are at the top, so TORQ is always a tab that you can click back to. So how did we do that? Again, we were looking at careers. And you can type a different career here, but we're doing the customer service. And we're looking at this particular career, medical records, and we just decided to look at jobs. Now I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look at a lower score. So let's keep going and see if I can find even lower than 90. All right. Well, how about this one right here? It's 90, an online merchant. So there's my salary that they might give depending on my experience and where I'm going to, if it's Massachusetts or whatever state it's in. And again, it's looking at Massachusetts at this time because we put in our zip code. And then I'm going to click on your skills fit and notice there are some gaps, economics and accounting. I've got some strengths, which are green on the left. I have some gaps. Now notice they're different colors. We'll talk about this. So communication and media, English, production, economics, these may be some gaps, okay? So I'm going to close this right here. And I'm going to see if there are any schools by clicking on schools. In this case, 0 schools. That could give me the skills that I needed. So let's take a look at another one. All right, how about this one? First line supervisor. So I have some gaps. Again, you'll see these gaps. And then I'll click on schools, and it's going to show me the schools that have the certification programs or classes on what I need, where my gaps are. So it already knows what my gaps are and what actual places in the area, so Brookline, Woburn, have a program that I might be interested in. So I can save that as well. So up here, I can go to jobs and take a look at any saved jobs that I like or that TORQ has found and I'm interested in maybe opening and applying or saving. Schools, any schools that have a program and any saved schools that I've saved. And then I can go back to careers. And I can look again and look at these scores. So the higher the score, the easier of a transfer that I will have. So let's take a look at that color coding in just a moment, and then we'll talk about the exposure risk. So I'm going to go talk about skills fit. You're going to get a slide. The TORQ score. So the TORQ scores, remember, are whether your skills and knowledge and abilities based on ONET will be a good fit for the positions that pop up. And then remember the TORQ score is from 0 to 100. So 100, so if you got a 95 to 100, you basically have no impactful gaps. You don't need any additional training. Let's say your score was 79 to 70, 75 to 79. Well, that would be a low chance of you being successful in the field because you have some moderate gaps and you might need some extensive training. Well, what if you got an 85 to an 89? Well, you probably have some minor gaps and you might need a small amount of coaching, but you'll do fine in that particular job. So the TORQ score is going to show up be underneath each job, and the color coding, the green is you're going to slide right in when you apply. You're not going to worry that you are missing any of those skills. Now, let's keep going. You can look at this slide after. So I want you to understand about what the exposure risk is. So TORQ is going to measure what activities you would have to do in that particular job that would expose you to other workers, other people, working closely with them, and depending on the type of job, if that job works very closely with people and you work with people all the time, then you have a higher exposure risk of any infectious disease being communicated. Now, they don't take into consideration wearing masks, and they don't take in consideration COVID-19. So they don't take into consideration the exact infectious disease, but it's just the risk. And the score is from 0 to 100. So let's take a look at this particular slide. Look on the left-hand side. If there was an exposure risk of 0 to 26, then that means that occupation has fewer than average exposure opportunities. So you won't be dealing with people on a high level basis. So look on the right hand side. Maybe you're a sewing machine operator or solderer or an actuary who's working at a desk, or you're doing alone work. Well, let's take a look at the bottom where the risk is 58 to 100. These occupations, they involve a high degree of interaction with people, like elementary school teachers, flight attendants, and nurses. So again, when you're looking at TORQ, so let's go back and take a look at TORQ again. And you're searching for a job. Let's take a look. I'll put up here, let's say sales, and I'll hit enter. And you're seeing a customer service rep, a sales rep, and wholesale manufacturing. So the exposure risk is 41. You have no gaps. The salary would be approximately 67,000. You want to look for jobs. You can click on jobs or look for schools. Now, what does the 41 mean again? Take a look. 26 to 58 is a majority of occupations do fall into this, by the way. This is an average risk. So these jobs will involve moderate interaction with other people, like look on the right, web developers or janitors or chefs or head cooks. So again, you're looking at the exposure risk, not about COVID-19, but you're looking at the exposure risk of either being in an opportunity where you may communicate or receive an infectious disease based on how you work with people. So it's all about working with people and how closely you work with people. And that might be a factor for you. So that's what these scores mean. So any questions? Past experience in security at a hospital when COVID started. So you've had some past experience in security. So are you looking for a security position? You know, you can put that in, or hospital position. Obviously, those types of positions would be a higher risk. And that some people, they're not concerned about it, and other people are concerned about it. All right, let's go back and take a look at the PowerPoint. So remember, TORQ will help you find training programs as well, schools with the actual training programs in the area. And oops, let's go back one. And TORQ will also find, let's go back to TORQ. TORQ will also find schools, careers, real jobs. And then when you are done looking at TORQ, maybe you don't have enough time to continue. So any of the information that you want to change, you go up and click on plan, and you can add in any other work experience or education. Someone had mentioned to me once that they were a nurse, so they had put in a nurse, and then they were also a sales clerk a long time ago, and they kept getting sales jobs popping up, but they didn't want that. They wanted to stick with some hospital, nursing, some sort of a medical type of job. So we took out the sales, and then it can focus on those particular types of jobs that you've listed in your work experience. In her case, the nursing. When you want to look at jobs that you've saved, you click on jobs, and you will see any of the jobs that you saved, or you can search for jobs right here in a particular area. So for example, let's go look at careers. And this will be one of the last demonstrations, but we'll look at careers, and I will do, let's say, an accountant. So I'm looking for an accountant position, and notice my scores are a lot lower than they were before, because what did I put into my work experience? Customer service rep. So depending on what type of an accountant I would be interested in accounting I would be doing, I would get a score. So a fraud examiner, investigator, and analyst. Well, let's take a look. Look at my skills. I have quite a few gaps here and quite a few strengths. So I close this, and I go to look for schools that will help me increase my skills. Grant writing online, let me save that. And let me click on open, and a whole nother tab at the top opens so that I can see Salem State and what they might offer. I'll go back to TORQ again. So we looked at careers. We looked at a particular career. We looked at the score. We looked at the risk, and then we clicked on jobs, schools. And then we can also click on jobs. I'll do this insurance agent here. Click on jobs. And again, see the real live jobs that we're ready to possibly apply for. And so if I'm, oh, that sales rep should looks interesting and this particular listening agent looks interesting, I'm going to click on save and be able to save them for later. And then if I wanted to, I could click, remember, on open. And in this case, it's going to bring me to Career Builder this time and look at this particular job. So sometimes it'll bring you to Indeed, sometimes Career Builder, sometimes the company website. So you'll see how that works. And then you come on up to plan and you're able to see your plan. You come over to schools, you'll be able to see what you saved in jobs, what you saved as well. And then go back to careers. So that's TORQ. Any questions before we decide to take a look and see our calendar and anything else that you are interested in? Let me know. Any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. All right. Do you think you'll be able to use TORQ? Do you think that it was easy to use and you'll be able to put in and see what your transferable skills are based on ONET and see what other jobs there are out there? Because maybe you just don't know what those job titles are, and TORQ is going to help you see these job titles. Let me just move a couple of windows because you're getting some gray spots there. All right. I don't see any other questions on TORQ. Someone says it looks user-friendly. Someone says, yes, they're going to try it, and they're doing it right now. Great. All right. I also wanted to show you, before we end today, that we have the rest of the December calendar, and then the January calendar will be popping up soon. I'm going to put the URL in the chat. So that's for our calendar to see what other classes that we're going to be teaching throughout the month. And so I hope you're signing up early. And we all, Nancy and Brendan and myself, would love to see you in this holiday season, taking classes, becoming knowledgeable, and we really wish you the best with your job search. I also wanted to show you, again, the job quest. So let me put that in the chat. So I'm going to move a few things over, and the job quest login, I'll put that in the chat as well. And I'm sure you all know that, but just to make it convenient for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do something called a file transfer. And that file transfer is going to allow me to take this presentation that has the instructions about TORQ and how for you to use it, and I'm going to be able to transfer it right to your computer. Now, if you've joined me via a phone or tablet, or just if you try this and it doesn't work, please don't worry about it. Feel free to email me. Notice my email is on the screen, but I'm going to put it in the chat as well. And there's my email. So if I do this download and it doesn't work for you, just email me and ask me for the TORQ training presentation, and I'll be glad to email it to you. All right, so let's try it, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing your screen. You'll be able to see the Mass Metro North Career Center screen. I am going to go find the file that I'd like to share with you. And here it is. And hopefully you're seeing this screen, but again, sometimes people don't, so that's okay. You just email me. But notice TORQ training right here. You would click on this once with the left mouse button. You would come up and click on download once with the left mouse button. Once you download, it's going to ask you a question. You're going to answer yes, and then you're going to be able to save it by clicking Save, and it should go to your Documents folder. Now again, click once with your left mouse button, click once on Download, answer yes, and then Save. You'll be able to reference this at any time. You'll have all the tools that you need in order for you to get into your JobQuest account as well as using TORQ. Great, good. A lot of you are saying, got it, did it, it is done. Great, excellent. Don't feel like a failure if it didn't work. It's not your fault. And then, of course, feel free to email me. So thank you, everyone. It's been my pleasure to be with you today. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. We're finishing up a little bit early today, so I've got plenty of time to answer questions. And just always want to wish you the best in your job search. Stay healthy, stay safe, and come again. And please sign up for all of the trainings. Again, they are well worth it so that you can become more knowledgeable and ready for that next job opening. So I don't see any other questions. So what I'm going to do is mute, do a little bit behind the scenes, keep my eye on the chat, and then I'll shut it down. And thanks so much for joining me today. Okay, everyone, I'm all set. So you have a great afternoon, and I hope to see you soon in other classes. Thanks again. Bye-bye.